You're listening to Tour Tech, your 5 weekly takeaways to tourism success. This series is brought to you by the digital tourism think tank in partnership with the European project Tourbit, which is co-financed by the European Commission's COSME programme for SMEs. I'm Nick Hall, founder of the digital tourism think tank, joined by our series co-host Marie Texier, looking after Tourbit for Paris & Co. And each week, we'll be bringing you insightful discussions with tourism SMEs undergoing digital transformation together with the innovative tech partners who are guiding them on that journey. So today we're off to Finland. Tell us a little bit about our next guests.
Yes, today we're going to meet with Anu and Wille. They are really great professionals in the tourism industry. Through data, they help us to understand what we can do with that and how we can manage to grow as a destination. It's really inspiring, not only for Lapland, but also for other countries that are listening to us, because we can apply their advice to our own destinations.
Let's have a look at the valuable insights that both Wille and Anu have been able to share with us. And don't forget to listen all the way to the end to unlock your 5 key takeaways to tourism success.
I'm Anu Summanen, the Executive Manager of Visit Pyhä-Luosto. And Visit Pyhä-Luosto is a DMO in destination with 2 tourism regions called Pyhä and Luosto, and it's located in the middle of Lapland.
My name is Wille Markkanen. I'm the Managing Director of Salmi platform, and Salmi is a company which is we focus on data collecting. So we collect data on tourism and in events. So we are a very specialized company.
Okay, so let's pretend, so I'm in France and I would like to discover Finland. How do I use your services, Anu?
Of course, because you are from France, you could contact with the tour operators in France to find out what kind of products they sell to our resorts and then make a reservation via tour operator. But of course, as an individual client, you could also come and just look for direct flights via Helsinki to Rovaniemi and then just book accommodation and other services from the suppliers in our region.
Okay, so your company is basically centralizing all the accommodation activities, for example, I could do in this area, right?
Actually, we are not the seller. So that's the one really important thing. We are kind of a background company. For our company is located in Pyhä and Luosto regions. So we help them with the marketing, some cooperation work and so on. But we are not selling the products.
Okay, understood. So how did you end up working with a Salmi platform?
It was probably that I saw Wille's presentation in one of the webinars, and then I thought that they might be a solution for us because we were kind of looking a way to get customer feedback from clients who have been in Pyhä-Luosto area on their vacation.
I'm glad that Anu remembered that because I was thinking, how did we start? I didn't remember. It seems like we have been working always together.
Yeah, that's how it seems. And of course, we roughly met each other in some common occasions in travel business in Finland earlier. But yeah, it was probably one webinar that I found them.
What was your digital challenges you wanted to address when you talked to Wille?
So we actually didn't have really the digital challenge, but it was kind of a tool for us to get what we wanted to get, because we wanted to get feedback, especially from the customers who have been in the area. And however, since we are not the seller, we didn't have the customer database system so that we could ask direct from the customers. And because we are kind of a wide area, we needed to get an easy and effective way to reach our clients to get their feedback. And for that reason, this kind of a platform for surveys that Salmi platform was able to give us was a perfect solution for our problem. And of course, the main reason is to get feedback from the customers to be able to develop our region in the future.
Okay, so it's a perfect transition to understand what is Salmi platform. What do you provide?
Yeah, Anu told it quite well, but if I could add something, so how we always tell what we are. So we are collecting that data from tourism, which can't be found from the statistics. So data knowledge, which is only known by the tourists. So we need to ask them. And as Anu was explaining, that the problem was not digital, but our solution is digital. So this is how we do it. We have this automated all the process to collect the data and so also handle it. And then the reporting is online. So it's all digital.
Okay, and how does it look like? Is it a platform I can log in to have access to the tourist data?
Yes, the end product. So what Anu is using is exactly like that. So it's actually Microsoft Power BI, the reporting platform, which is used, but every user has their own passwords, and then they can use the data whenever they wish to do that.
And can you tell us the story of what was the first stage of implementing this solution? What was the challenges you encounter maybe? What was the whole process of you building this relationship?
Yes, the first step is always to understand what is the real need behind the data, actually. So Anu had a good idea what she needs, and then we have our basic solution, but it's also customized every time when we start collecting the data. So this is the first step, to understand why and what we are doing, and that is what we did. And then after that is, of course, the next step is when we are talking about surveys. This is actually a survey, which is digital, is of course distributing this survey within the tourists. And that is the place where we always cooperate. So the destination, in this case, Pyhä-Luosto, and Anu as a representative of the destination, has the contact with the tourists. And we don't, we are the technical handler. So we need to cooperate. So they distribute and we handle the technical part behind everything. So kind of the background work.
Okay, so it's a win-win situation.
Yes, and if I can add something that was really important to get that tool like it is in Salmi platform, but to reach the customers, what we did was that we shared the link in our website, social media, and newsletters during the entire season that we were gathering the feedback. And also the companies in our resort, like the accommodation service providers and activity companies, they shared the link to their customers so we could get a lot of information and wide range of information from the customers.
So just for me to be sure I understood well, you are using Summit platform to send survey to the tourist that is traveling in this area of Finland, right?
Yes.
And then Summit platform is collecting and analyzing this data that is allowing you to have access to a dashboard to understand the feedback, the habits, the review of the tourists.
Yes, maybe I explain a little bit this data in more detail. So feedback is actually one part of the data. So feedback meaning the opinions of the travelers or the tourists, what they think, what was positive, what is negative, etc. But then we have also impact data. So how much money is these tourists using on their traveling, which is very important. In a way, when you want to develop, tourism is a business, and then it's always important to get also a good money from the tourism. And besides this simple thing that how much money was collected, there's also always important data behind. So what are the motivation of the tourists? With different motivation groups are there? What demographic groups are in a tourism groups, etc.? How they are accommodated, how they are traveling, what are their means of transfers? And then you have many things together, like this kind of people, this motivation behind from this country are using this much money, and these people with this motivation from this. And then you have a good understanding that these let's say, customer profiles are good and effective for the destination. Let's concentrate our marketing on them. And these customers maybe are good for us, they give us money, but they think that the product is this way a little bit good or bad. We need to develop this to get more of these clients, etc. So this is a very, very big set of data, which I'm trying to explain very shortly. So maybe I'm not doing the best work, but I hope you understand that it's not only feedback, it's also impact data. And we have three different groups for impact. So there's this economic impact, so how much money are people using and how. And then there are environmental impact. Mainly, we focus on the travel part when the people come to the destination. So what is the carbon footprint of this travel part? And what is the travel chain of when they're coming? Which steps are on the way and which vehicles are used, etc. And then the third part is, of course, social impact. And this is new for Anu. It was not in earlier part. It's developed during this last year, actually. And we feel it is very important. So it's also involving the locals in this part. So what are the opinion of locals of tourism? And if you compare it to the tourism opinions. So these three different big impact parts, but also the feedback is one part of this all set.
Yeah, it makes sense. And at the end, what is the objective, or how do you use this data for your destination? And
when we were getting these answers for the people, we weekly checked, at least once a week, we checked that what kind of feedback, what kind of answers they gave us. And because it is real-time monitoring, and it gave us a great possibility to solve problems or bad feedback immediately. So if we saw something that is fixable right away, of course we fixed the problem so that the customers were more happy. But also it gives us a lot of information for future development. Like in our case, we got a lot of information to develop the trails, to develop the transportation, the public transportation to our region, between the region. That was actually the most important thing because we have these two resorts in one destination. And we knew before that we had a lot of cross users in our area. So it didn't matter that which one of the resorts they were staying in. They were using services in both of the resorts, but we didn't know that how big part of our clients were doing that. So this is probably in our first survey, it was kind of a biggest information that we got. We knew from afterwards that we need to develop the possibilities for people who are there in our region without their own car, for example, so that they can use the other well resort during their stay, because these well resorts are located like in 20 minutes apart from each other. So this kind of information that we got from the questionnaire, for example.
so you are using, the data then to maybe customize the offer, build a new infrastructure, offering maybe less polluting way of transportation and so on, if I understood well.
Yes, that's exactly.
Yes, maybe if I say a little bit different words, tourism is kind of a chain operation or network operation. So there are a lot of different parties involved. Let's say there are companies, then there's DMO company like Anu is representing as a visit organization. Then there are locals, then there are politician making, then there are government things, big international corporations like airline companies. And everybody should work together. And sometimes it's difficult to understand what is happening, to have the common picture of the situation. And there, this data is very useful. And I remember one way Anu was using, she explained it to me that whenever they have these monthly meetings with business owners and the local people of the destination, she showed the data all together. So then they had this common understanding of the situation. It was not anymore Anu saying that we need to do this or that. It was the client who was telling that this is our opinion and kind of shouting, please see what we want and do it like this. So this was one way of doing this. And of course, then there's this future planning and developing. How do they concentrate, or where do they put their marketing money, and what products they should sell more and develop more, etc., like Anu was explaining. But this kind of network understanding of the common understanding of this network is very important, and this helps on that.
Thanks, Wille, for pointing it out, because it is really like that.
And in this way of working together, is there anything you would like to add? I don't know if there are KPI you are following, or if they have any difficulties in implementing this solution for destination.
Of course, the main key performance indicator in this kind of work, when we talk about surveys, is always how much answers we get from the tourists. That is very important. That's what we follow here in Salmi every day. We want to be sure that the data is very good, and then we need more. But then there's this funny situation that what we also are collecting is this key performance indicator data. So in a way, there's this double checking on this data that our clients like Anu is looking for certain meters there, what is happening inside the data, but at the same time, we need to follow that we have good data which represents the situation. So the most important aspect, of course, is getting enough data.
So I know you already gave us a few examples, but do you see changes for the end customer, so the tourist, with this new way of working with data?
Of course, they also, the clients who are answering to this survey, of course, they also appreciate being asked and having kind of an opportunity to be involved for the development. But I don't know if I can see the changes. Of course, it takes time with these bigger issues like developing transportation in a better way and like this. But of course, at the end, it will impact to the clients using our services, but can't see that happening right now. But also, when we started with Salmi platform, it was kind of part of one of the project, and we thought that, okay, we do it once, but at the end, we saw that it was a really good way to get feedback from our customers, to understand them better, how they use our services, what kind of things, and all these other important ways using these two fell resorts. And we decided to do it like every second year, just to see the long-term process and development as well. So we've done it now once, and we started again this year for this winter season. So, of course, after that, we can say that if we made already that kind of improvements that affects to the customer feedback.
So we are like truck lords. We give free samples and then the clients are hooked. Maybe I say something what I saw from the side about your work in the Pyhä-Luosto. I remember you already said that you make this first small and fast developments based on the client opinions about, for example, trails and the forest, etc. But then I remember one big issue, which was that you have double resort. So Pyhä is different than Luosto, and they are actually located in different municipalities. And then there was this decision-making problem that different municipalities are making different decisions, even though you try to market this as a one destination. And with this data, you were able to present to the decision makers that this is actually one destination which needs to be developed as a one destination and not within each municipality differently. And that was a nice thing. But if I say in general, because we do this all around Finland and now in Sweden, etc., so we know that there are many, many ways to use this data. But always it starts, the benefits, what the clients want to have. It's, of course, improving the happiness of the clients. This is a first big group of things people do or our clients do. Then is this economic impact. So they really, really want to find those clients which are best for the destination, because destination has its capacity and they have only certain amount of money for the marketing. So it should be used wisely. And whenever you have 100 clients paying 100 euro per day or 100 clients paying 200 euro per day, you want those who pay 200 euros per day because your capacity is the same. So this is very, very important. And then there is this very, very big issue of environmental impact. And like Anu said, it's difficult to develop, for example, trains coming to Pyhä-Luosto, etc. But the whole chain can be looked, and you can find those customer groups which are coming the best economic way. And then you can actually try to influence your government, for example, or the local authorities which are responsible for the development of the railroads and public transportation. So this is very few examples how this data has been used around Finland and among these destinations.
So you said you are operating in Finland, in Sweden. For example, if our listeners are from all around Europe, can they use Salmi platform as well?
Yes, this is all digital, and we have now translated this was 12 languages, I think, but it's all in online, so we can do it anywhere in the world. This is quite simple, and in modern world, when we operate like this with teams at meets, etc., online, so we can do it anywhere.
That's great to know. And I had a question about the training. Anu, did you need to be trained, or maybe your coworkers, to use Salmi platform?
Yeah, of course, to get the most out of the data, but it was really easy. But we did had half a day training or something like that.
Yes, that is our basic system, that whenever we start, of course, there's this session where we look to the destination and try to find out what is important in this destination so we can customize everything. And there it starts already the learning process. And then when we start collecting the data, after we start getting, within the first week, we already have the training of the online report. It has a lot of data. So when you first time open it, it seems like, okay, I don't understand anything. So it has to be go through. And then the people or the destinations, clients, travel companies, they find the important data for them to follow up daily or maybe weekly or monthly. And then it's easier. And then time to time, we have these checkups, what is going on, how it works. And many times we also we collect the most important pieces of data and put them together as a report, like a normal report, not online report, as a PowerPoint, etc. So maybe once a year or maybe after the seasons, etc. But that's what we decide always with the clients.
And one really good way to use it is that if something comes up later that you need to check, that you remember that you find some things out of that data what we have collected, it's easy to go back and you can get back to that data easily because it's available for you in that same platform all the time. So you can always check back.
Yes, and checking back means that you have these filtering options. Like you can always isolate one. Let's say you want to only look for the 25 to 35 years old women from France coming to Pyhä-Luosto and check what are they doing, what are they thinking, why did they come, etc. So you can very, very sharply concentrate on certain profiles in your data. And that gives you, of course, a lot of possibilities, but it is also breathtaking. You need to sometimes choose that this is our big picture, this is where I concentrate. But it's possible, like Anu said, always to change your mind and come back to the data. Okay, this was maybe wrong choice. How would this choice be if I look this way?
And Anu, I was wondering, do you sell or make it public, this data, for the resort or for the local that would like to implement a new activity for tourists?
We don't actually sell, but we give that for free to our members because our association has about 80 members at the moment. So we kind of make different summaries out of that data so that they can develop their products in a way customers like to have it.
That's great, because I can hear that collecting this data through Salmi platform will help the destination, the activities, maybe the government. So it's really, you can target and help many different kind of activities.
Indeed. And of course, there's the selling data part is, of course, important question. And nobody of our client destinations are selling the data. They have the same idea like Anu has, that collecting the data of the destination is very important. And as important is also spreading it out. So the picture of the situation of the tourism is important, and it's important that everybody has the right picture of the situation, and that's why they do it. But then there are some cases where the data of different destinations are collected together as a bigger picture, let's say Lapland or Eastern Finland or the whole Finland picture. And then this data can be used in another platforms. It's not always Salmi which is using, it can be a different system where it's just, we have this API system that data can be put together and transferred to another system, and they can visualize it like they want. And this is very common nowadays. So when we are talking about the digital data, the easiness of transferring it is also a very important aspect. But along with that comes the responsibility of the client security. It's anonymous always. When we collect the data, we use it. And if it's collected as a bigger group of destinations, it's also anonymous. So we don't give Pyhä-Luosto's exact data to everyone, but as a bigger group, it can be used.
Perfect. You're not selling our feedback and so on. It's really reassuring.
Yes. And nowadays it's more and more important, like we know that they're talking about like a big corporate data, like what is Facebook doing with their data, etc. We are not in that business. So we are not selling people's data to anyone.
Is there anything you would like to share about this collaboration?
Well, I can say from our part that Anu has been a good example for many of our destinations. We have used many of the ideas Anu has developed, but in another way, it's a very typical example of the work we do. So we are kind of a third party in this operation, which involves the destination and within its companies, and then one party is the tourists, which are the most important party, and then we are just putting them together as this technical aspect, this digital aspect of the collecting data.
And I could say that they are easy partner to work with, and also sometimes when you think about at your own some things that you like to develop, you might think them a little bit too complicated, so they can kind of find out the simple way to say it and to ask it, and then the result is good. So easy partner to work with.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your story about collecting data and how you are using them for improving always their territory. I think my last question is, I think you already answered it, but I will ask it anyway. What could be the main takeaway for the SMEs or DMO that are listening to us you would like to share?
Well, if I can start, I can say that, like you asked it, but I said that this is all digital. So it has no borders, it has no home country. So this operation, this collecting of data can be done anywhere. So if somebody is feeling that they need to sharpen their knowledge about tourism and the situation, we can maybe help, and we welcome everybody to take contact to us.
Yeah, and I would just say that this kind of real-time monitoring provides a good way for your daily operations, but also because you're collecting data in a longer period, you get a better understanding of the overall situation in long term.
That was a really interesting discussion. So what for you, Marie, was the biggest learning?
Yeah, according to me, data can bring different stakeholders from different backgrounds and different fields around a table to discuss long-term projects on the same topic. And I think it's really amazing what we can do when we know how to collect and to analyze data to move forward all together, hand to hand.
It's really interesting because they sort of use data as an enabler, and it seems like by doing that they empower all the businesses in the destination to be able to do a lot more.
Exactly. When you know your customers, when you know your destination, when you know their expectations, you can build strategies, and you know that your strategies will be relevant. It's not built out of nowhere with data you collected somewhere you don't know. So having feedback also from the customers helps you to improve your destination.
Wow, that's a pretty good way to sum up that interview. Well, we've put together 5 key takeaways, so let's have a listen to that and see you on the next episode.
See you next Monday. Don't forget to subscribe.
What are our 5 key takeaways from today's discussion? Number 1, gathering market data and direct visitor feedback is crucial in order to improve the destination. Developing infrastructure and monitoring the environmental impact is something that tourism organizations have a role to play in, and the visitor economy is something that we need to be able to understand and convey better in order to build that data into decision-making processes. Number 2, data plays a pivotal role in facilitating excellent collaboration between different stakeholders across the industry. So destination management organizations have a really important role to play, connecting SMEs and other businesses together with governments and those in the local community who also have an important role to play in shaping the future of tourism. Number 3, real-time monitoring not only helps with day-to-day operations, but it also helps us to get perspective in the long run. And this is important. We all know the impact and importance of trends, and we also have to recognize that trends can be short, mid, and long-term trends, and we need to have the skills and the toolkits in order to respond to those and adapt to change. Number 4, leveraging data and collaboration can really help to drive innovation, which in turn helps shape the future of the tourism industry. Technology and working together with startups can be a really crucial part of this, as they're able to tap in to APIs and really maximize the potential of open data. But also, simply having a much better understanding around your visitors' needs are key. And lastly, number 5, continuous improvement and adaptation is essential for us to thrive in a digital age. That's why we stress the importance of using methods such as human-centered design to shape future tourism experiences. These skills are essential today, not only in a digital world, but also in the visitor economy. And data helps us gather a much better understanding of the needs of our visitors. So that's it, a fascinating discussion with Wille and Anu, and I've certainly learnt a lot by listening to that amazing discussion. Thanks so much, Marie, for taking us through that. And don't forget, if you're traveling anywhere and you're asked to complete a survey, this can be a simple but very beneficial action for the industry or the business that's asking you to do that. So take a few minutes to do that and just consider that you're making a real mark on the destination. You've been listening to Tour Tech. That's a wrap for another week. If you liked today's episode, be sure to leave a review and share amongst your networks across social. These 2 small actions make a really big difference. We appreciate the time you take to listen and, of course, to share. Make sure you don't miss future episodes. New episodes are released every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all major podcasting platforms. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and get your podcasts every week in your inbox. Tourbit is a partnership co-funded by the European Commission's COSME program for small and medium-sized enterprises, and it's led by an incredible team of partners who are all as passionate about what they do as the businesses they're supporting. This includes the Catalan Tourist Board, Barcelona Chamber of Commerce, Paris & Co, Tourism 4.0 in Slovenia, Hub Brussels, Iceland's Tourism Cluster, the Lapland University of Applied Sciences, and NEST, the Tourism Innovation Centre in Portugal. On behalf of these incredible partners at Tourbit and the European Commission, and of course here at the Digital Tourism Think Tank, thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next week.